Around the World in 80 Days. Written by Julie Gabriel Verne, 1828 to 1905. Presentation prepared by Mrs. Sujata Ali. About the author. Julie Gabriel Verne was a French author and a pioneer of the science fiction genre, best known for his novels such as 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, 1870, Journey to the Center of the Earth, 1864, and Around the World in 80 Days, 1873. Verne was noted for writing about space, air, and underwater travel before air travel and submarines were actually invented, and before practical means of space travel had been devised. He is one of the most translated authors in the world. Verne, along with Hugo Gernsback and H.G. Wells, is often popularly referred to as the father of science fiction. Like his confreres, Verne was a visionary not only in his ability to predict technological advances, but in his ability to imagine a more utopian, harmonious society as well. Such is the author's fame that even 115 years after his demise, his works continue to gather the same popularity as when they were first published over 150 years ago. Verne is also the second most translated author in the world since 1979, after Agatha Christie and before William Shakespeare. Some of his famous quotes are, "Man is never perfect nor contented. Realities provide us with facts so romantic that imagination itself could add nothing to them. Science, my lad, is made up of mistakes, but they are mistakes which it is useful to make because they lead little by little to the truth. The chance which now seems lost may present itself at the last moment. I believe cats to be spirits come to earth. A cat, I am sure, could walk on a cloud without coming through." About the novel. Jules Verne's famous novel Around the World in 80 Days is a story of extraordinary accomplishment. It describes the wonderful adventures of Phileas Fogg, an English gentleman who has agreed to a wager, that is a bet of £40,000, that he can travel around the world in 80 days. The story depicts, that is, shows how his personal character, high values, and single-mindedness of purpose enable him to overcome seemingly insurmountable, unconquerable obstacles, that is, hurdles. Though the story is a fiction, the principles it depicts are profound truths of life and human accomplishment. Characters. Major characters and minor characters. Phileas Fogg, Sir Francis Cromarty, Passepartout, John Bunsby, Auda, the Reform Club members, Detective Fix, the Parsi Guide, Colonel Stamp Proctor, Mr. Camerfield, Mr. Mandyboy, Elder William Hitch, Mudge, Captain Speedy. Themes of the novel. The novel is full of adventure and the excitement which the readers come across and enjoy from the beginning to the end. Phileas Fogg, the major character in the novel, accepts the challenge to go around the world in 80 days, and in accomplishing this feat, he goes through various lands and meets with diverse adventures. Thus, the novel proceeds at a fast pace, and there is always some excitement resulting from the various encounters. The beauty of the novel is that the writer takes the readers to a journey of many hair-raising incidents and exciting, adventurous, thrilling, yet beautiful places in the world. Time. The most important theme in this novel is time. Fogg's wager is a race against time, and his adventure illustrate repeatedly that time is fickle and either for him or against them. In many cases, time foils their plans when the delays build up and the ships and trains leave without them. In the end, though, time turns out to be what wins Fogg his bet, since they gained a day when crossing the international dateline. The ultimate message is that no one can control time. Time will work the way it wants to work, and humans are at its mercy. Second theme is relationships. Before his journey around the world, Fogg lived a solitary life. He closed himself off to others and cared little about the way he was perceived by others. By the end of the trip, though, he recognizes the importance of human connections, both in the form of love with Auda and friendship and loyalty with Passepartout. Above all, this new understanding and appreciation is the greatest thing he has gained from this trip. Perseverance. When Fogg resigns himself to his goal of making it around the world in 80 days, he continues on despite numerous obstacles that stand in his way. He is constantly calm, cool, and collected as he strives to accomplish what he set out to do. But Fogg is not the only character that displays strong perseverance. Despite his misguided goals, Detective Fix also perseveres in his attempt to do what he believes is right, and that is to arrest Fogg as an alleged bank robber. Despite their contrasting goals, both the protagonist, that is the hero, and the antagonist, that is the villain, display admirable dedication. Honor. Though he has the opportunity to double his fortune, Fogg's motivation to embark on such a crazy adventure has little to do with the money. Instead, he wants to preserve his honor and prove his worth to the men of the Reform Club, to show that he can do what he sets out to do. Fogg spends nearly all of his money along the way, showing that riches are not what he is truly out for. For Phileas Fogg, honor is more important than money. Problem solving. Throughout the entire trip, Fogg and his group encounter various obstacles standing in their way. These challenges allow them to use their quick thinking to come up with innovative solutions to even the most complicated of problems, relaying the message that no problem is unsolvable. It is not only Fogg who shows his clever wit in coming up with solutions. Passepartout, too, shows his ingenuity in multiple situations, like when saving Auda and stopping the train during the Sioux attack. Imperialism. Written in the 19th century at the height of British colonization, this novel rings with themes of imperialism and Western influence on the world. Fix is able to chase Fogg for so long precisely because so many of the territories he ventures into are British owned. Places like India and Hong Kong hugely display the effects of colonization. Mixed in with native cultures and customs are traces of English influence. Today, one country having this sort of control over the world seems impossible, then though it was taken as normal. Morality. Caught up in the fast-paced excitement of the journey, it is often easy for readers to forget to question the morality of some of the decisions Fogg makes in order to achieve his goal. The most notable example of this is after leaving New York, when he ties up the trade vessel's captain in order to steer the ship where he wants it to go. Because Fogg has money, he is able to get himself out of this sticky situation without repercussions. However, this does not absolve the immorality of the act in the first place. Is it okay to resort to immoral actions as a means to an end? Or should Fogg have tried to make moral decisions along the way? Plot of the novel. Phileas Fogg, a London gentleman of meticulous and unchanging habits, hires as his valet Jean Passepartout, a French man who has had a variety of jobs including circus performer, but now seeks a tranquil life. After reading the Daily Telegraph, that is the newspaper in UK, that a new railroad in India has made it theoretically possible to travel around the world in 80 days, Fogg bets his fellow members at the Reform Club that he will make that journey in 80 days or less. The wager is for the princely sum of £20,000, half his fortune. Leaving that night, Fogg and a nonplussed Passepartout board a train bound for Dover, that is a town in England, and Calais, seaport in France, to begin their journey. Shortly before Fogg's departure, someone resembling him and who has just robbed a bank, and Fogg's sudden exit leads Scotland Yard, that is the Metropolitan Police, to believe that he was the bank robber. Accordingly, a detective, Mr. Fix, is sent to Suez, that is the largest private water provider worldwide in British-ruled Egypt, to await the steamer Mongolia on which Fogg and Passepartout are travelling. Fix befriends Passepartout, and after learning that they will take the steamer to Bombay, he buys a ticket and joins them. The Mongolia, that is the steamer, reaches Bombay before the arrival of an arrest warrant. However, before their planned departure for Calcutta on the Great India Peninsula Railway, Passepartout visits a Hindu temple on Malabar Hill, which is an upscale residential area in Bombay, unaware that Christians are forbidden to enter and that shoes are not to be worn inside the temple. He is beaten up by enraged priests and barely, that is hardly, makes it to the train station on time. Plot of the novel continued. The train travels through India until stopping at the village of Kholbi, where Fogg learns that contrary to what was reported in the British press, the railroad is 50 miles, that is 81 kilometers, short of completion, and the passengers are required to find their own way to Allahabad to resume the train trip. Fogg purchases an elephant and hires a Parsi man as the elephant driver and guide. The elephant-borne party later encounters a group of people preparing for an act of sati, the immolation of a widow on her husband's pyre. Fogg decides that they must rescue the young widow. Passepartout disguises himself as the body of the late Raja, and as soon as the pyre is lit, he springs up and seizes the widow. The party then flees before the ruse is discovered. They reach the railroad station in Allahabad and continue on their journey. In Calcutta, however, Fogg and Passepartout are arrested and sentenced to prison because of Passepartout's incursion, that is a sudden entry into the Malabar Hill Temple in Bombay. An unperturbed, undisturbed Fogg pays bail for them and, accompanied by the widow Auda, they board a steamer bound for Hong Kong. Fix, who had hoped the sentences would keep them in Calcutta long enough for the warrant to arrive, joins them. Plot of the novel continued. In Hong Kong, Passepartout attempts to secure cabins on a boat to Yokohama and learns that its departure has been rescheduled for that evening. Desperate to keep Fogg in Hong Kong until the warrant arrives, Fix tells Passepartout why he is following Fogg and offers to pay him to help delay Fogg's departure. When Passepartout refuses, Fix drugs him with opium, preventing him from returning to Fogg. As a result, Fogg misses the steamer. However, he finds another ship that will take them to Shanghai, and he, Auda, and Fix set sail. In the meantime, Passepartout manages to stagger onto the ship for Yokohama. Passepartout arrives in Yokohama with no money and no idea of where Fogg is. He joins the travelling circus, where Fogg, having caught a Yokohama-bound steamer from Shanghai, encounters him just in time for them all, including Fix, to board the steamer that will take them to San Francisco. As Britain has no jurisdiction in the United States, Fix is now as eager as the rest of them to get Fogg back to England quickly. The group boards a train bound for New York City. Plot of the novel continued. The train trip continues more or less uneventfully until it reaches Medicine Bow, Wyoming Territory, US state, where a signalman tells them that the suspension bridge is too dilapidated, in a state of ruin, to bear the weight of a train. However, the engineer believes that it might be possible to safely cross the bridge by going at top speed, and the plan works, with the bridge collapsing as soon as the train reaches the other side. In Nebraska, US state, the train is attacked by a band of Sioux Native American tribe who are on the point of winning the battle when Passepartout succeeds in uncoupling the train from its engine outside Fort Kearny, that is in the northeast of USA, and the soldiers garrisoned provide a place with a group of troops there to frighten the Sioux into leaving. However, the Sioux capture Passepartout and two other passengers. Fogg rides to their rescue with a group of soldiers, but the recoupled train departs without them. Using a sail-powered sledge, Fogg and the others travel over snow to Omaha, Nebraska, arriving just in time to board a train to Chicago. From there, they catch a train to New York City, where they arrive 45 minutes after departure of the ship to England. Fogg finds an empty trading ship whose captain is willing to carry the group of four to Bordeaux, France. After bribing the crew and imprisoning the captain, Fogg assumes control and sets course for Liverpool, England. When a storm prevents the use of sails, the coal supply runs low. Fogg buys the ship from the captain and begins burning its wooden parts. As soon as they arrive in Liverpool, Fix arrests Fogg. Several hours later, though, Fix learns that another man was responsible for the bank robbery, and he releases Fogg, who orders a special train. However, he arrives in London 5 minutes too late to win his wager, that is, the bet. Plot of the novel continued. The following evening, Fogg apologizes to Auda for being unable to provide for her comfort as a result of losing the bet. She, in turn, proposes marriage to him, and he joyfully agrees. Passepartout is sent to engage a clergyman, and he learns that their journey through the time zones had gained them a day, and that they are not too late after all. He rushes back to notify Fogg, who arrives at the Reform Club with only moments to spare. Thus, Fogg wins the wager, that is the bet, and in the course of his travels finds himself a worthy, charming, and a beautiful wife too. Let us now discuss the main characters of the novel. Character sketch of Phileas Fogg. This precise and intelligent man is one of the most memorable characters created by Verne. When we are introduced to him, he is an Englishman who lives a very regularized life. He is impeccable in his manners and is very punctual as well as particular about what he wants. What is most distinct about his character is his eccentricity and even his trip around the world, which results out of a stubborn quirk and not out of greed for the wager, that is the bet money. While Fogg does travel around the world, he does not really bother to find out more about the possible sources of tourist interest that he passes through. Another outstanding trait of Fogg is his large-heartedness. He decides to help the sacrificial victim Auda and risks his own life in the bargain. He also pardons, that is forgives Passepartout despite the latter's many blunders, that is mistakes. Towards the end of the novel, we even find him forgiving the detective who had put so many hurdles in Fogg's path. He even goes to the extent of giving Fix money while anyone else in Fogg's place would have been livid with anger. Phileas Fogg's character sketch continued. As the protagonist of the story, Fogg demands a great deal of attention. It is he who sets most of the action rolling, and it is he who initiates the entire adventure. He never gives up despite all odds and hires boats, captures ships, rides on a snowmobile, and even hires a train in order to attain his goal. Verne adds a twist in the story when the precise Fogg slips up and mistakes time. He thinks he has reached London late when in fact he reaches it a full day earlier. Everyone is happy to learn that Fogg has won the bet and has managed to go around the world in the stipulated period. Fogg attains nothing but love through his entire endeavor. He may have won a wager which is good for his pride, but more than anything else, he finds lasting love which is wonderful for his heart. Auda would have kept Fogg very happy, and we are glad that the ex-shipman marries the exotic Indian princess. Second character, Passepartout. Fogg's valet, Passepartout, is a foil to Fogg's character. This interesting Frenchman is an integral part of the story from the very first chapter. He is shown as a man who is on the lookout for some peace and quiet after having had a very exciting and adventurous life. It is for this reason that he decides to serve the impeccable Fogg, who comes across as a meticulous man who will not undertake travels. Passepartout soon realizes that he is completely wrong, for Fogg suddenly plans a journey around the world and Passepartout is tugged along. This journey is not undertaken at leisure pace but is completed at a hectic gallop, complete with many bumps. While Passepartout is very loyal, it is he who serves to delay his master several times. Passepartout is naive to a certain extent and tends to get carried away at several occasions. While Fogg, Auda and Passepartout are at Hong Kong, Passepartout gets drugged in the company of Fix and is unable to inform his master about the change in the departure time of the Carnatic. character sketch of Passepartout continued. It is because of Passepartout that Fogg gets arrested by Detective Fix in London, as he fails to warn his master about Fix's suspicions regarding the robbery. Passepartout does feel guilty that he is a major source of delay as well as financial loss to his master. On the other hand, he makes up for his errors by his jovial nature and his financial and his unflinching love and loyalty for his master. Moreover, it is Passepartout who takes the most crucial step in the rescue of Aouda. It is he who manages to lift her from the sacrificial pyre by pretending to be the dead Raja reawakened. Thus, while Aouda's rescue is Fogg's idea, it is Passepartout who makes it possible. It is Passepartout who goes to the Reverend Samuel Wilson of the parish of Marylebone in order to tell him about Fogg and Aouda's planned wedding. When he requests the priest to marry the couple, he realizes that the next day is Sunday, not Monday. He then rushes back to his master and drags him to the Reform Club. Fogg wins the wager, that is the bet, as a result of his menial's last-minute realization of their joint mistake. Passepartout serves to add a comic touch to the story with his antics. He is all the more interesting because he has been an acrobat before. His light-heartedness and his blunders are in complete contrast to Fogg's seriousness and meticulousness. Together, they make an unforgettable pair. Passepartout enthralls the audience, and the readers grow to like this crazy, eccentric Frenchman. The third character, Detective Fix. He is the closest to being termed the antagonist in the story of a challenge to travel around the world in 80 days. Somehow, he gets suspicious of Mr. Fogg and starts to believe passionately that it is none other than Fogg who is guilty of the bank robbery. Fix has a drawing of the suspicious culprit that is given to all the detectives. The portrait happens to resemble Fogg's persona, and this strengthens Fix's conviction about Fogg's guilt. Fix decides to obtain a warrant to arrest Fogg. The warrant takes time to reach Fix, and till then he has to shadow Fogg all over the world. He succeeds in placing many hurdles in Fogg's path without Fogg ever realizing that Fix is out to ruin his plans. Fix befriends Passepartout with the sole aim of keeping a tab on Fogg. Passepartout's naivete and innocence makes him incapable of smelling a rat in Fix's pretended friendly behavior. Fix is not at all a straightforward man. In his desperation to get hold of the reward money that a detective gets for arresting a robber, he even goes to the extent of intoxicating Passepartout with opium. Fix's antics make the readers detest him. We are even more frustrated when Passepartout does not tell his master about Fix after having learnt the latter's true identity. Character sketch of Detective Fix continued. He is shameless in that he accepts Fogg's offer to travel with the group on special ships and trains without contributing to the finances that make these exclusive conveyances possible. The only place where Fix helps Fogg is when he arranges for a unique mode of conveyance from Fort Kearny to Omaha Station, and that is by a sledge. There is, of course, a very selfish reason behind this extended help. Fix, too, wishes to reach the English soil as early as possible so that he can arrest Fogg. He cannot arrest Fogg in America. Fix is finally able to arrest Fogg at Liverpool, and Fogg is imprisoned. When Fogg is released with due apologies, he hits Fix, and this is a blow that Fix very much deserves. What is most amazing is that despite Fix's misbehavior, Fogg feels sorely sorry for the defeated Fix and gives him some part of the wager money that he wins. We can imagine how Fix would have been indebted to Fogg and his generosity for the rest of his life. The fourth important character of the novel, Auda. Auda, as a beautiful and exotic Indian princess, is a major source of glamour in the novel. In the story, which is mainly about men, Auda is the sole source of femininity. Fogg and his group come across her while traveling through India. In fact, the story of her rescue is one of the most dramatic episodes in the novel. She is a rich princess who is forcibly married to an old Raja after her father's death. When the Raja too passes away, she is forced to commit sati, that is, sacrifice of the wife's life on the funeral pyre of the husband's. Being young and intelligent, she obviously does not want to sacrifice herself, but she is literally intoxicated with opium by the fanatic priests and is trapped by them. Fogg and his companions had hired an elephant to take them to Allahabad. The guide relates Auda's story to them when they see the procession of the priests with Auda. Fogg, in a rare emotional moment, insists on trying to rescue Auda. Finally, through the courageous daring of Passepartout, the princess is saved from the jaws of death. She is then eternally grateful to both Fogg and Passepartout for the rest of her life. Character sketch of Auda continued. It is decided that she will travel with Fogg till Hong Kong, where she will ask one of her rich relatives for aid. But when they reach Hong Kong, they find out that the relative has moved away. Thus, Auda accompanies Fogg in his journey around the world. Despite Fogg's cold exterior, Auda senses a warm heart beneath and falls in love with him. Passepartout alone can sense that Auda's feelings for Fogg surpass mere gratefulness, but Fogg shows no apparent signs of reciprocity. But nevertheless, we learn that Fogg does love Oda and he confesses his love towards the end of the novel. Oda and Fogg do marry, and Passepartout is especially happy to see the two of his favorite people yoked together. Auda seems to be the perfect companion for a man such as Fogg. She is shown as beautiful, polished in manners, and kind at heart. Moreover, she is just as self-respecting as Fogg himself is, and is equally brave. When they are attacked by the Sioux in America, she puts up a courageous fight. She gets hold of arms and defends herself magnificently. Verne points out that Fogg's ultimate victory was not one of the wager, but one in which he attained Oda's love. Oda is a charming woman who made Fogg the happiest of men. The author refers to Oda as being a more important attainment than the completion of a successful journey round the world. Oda reiterates the fact that human relationships and love are more important than any number of worldly challenges, wagers, or money. End of part 1. Thank you for watching. Do like and subscribe to my channel. Happy learning.